It's November here in Georgia, Zone 8A, and you will not believe what is still growing in my garden. Today we'll be walking the garden. I have a few plants to show you, including this awesome goji berry. An update on my citrus plants. Yes, I'm growing citrus here in Georgia. I'll show you some of the propagation I've been doing. This has been fun. What flowers are still holding on? We'll talk about what my plans are for these leaves and what I plan to do after frost. Welcome to Finding Joy in the Garden. It's obviously the fall season, but look at all the peppers in the garden. We have a harvest to do, people. Today I thought I'd start the tour from a different angle. This is the back of my garden, and on this corner here I have pepper aisle, which consists of 2 rows of containers, about 20 plastic containers each, and I planted mostly peppers back here, and this did really well this year. As you can see, I still have a lot of peppers, which for me is, I didn't expect this. Usually we have our first frost in the beginning of November. This is November 25th, and we expect our first frost in about 2 days, so I'm gonna have to come pick all these peppers. But my goodness, look at all these peppers. This turned out to be one of my favorite peppers this year. This is the thunderstorm pepper. I'm sorry, it's so bright, so it's hard to see, but look at this pepper. I'm gonna pick this one here to save seeds, but there are so many peppers on it. It's a super hot pepper, so it did ripen a bit later than the others, but it's spectacular, really beautiful. I've had the Jamaican mushroom pepper here. This is a very productive pepper. If you're thinking of getting into peppers, this is one I would recommend. It produces a lot of peppers, and it produced much faster than these super hots. Here I have the chocolate habanero, which also ended up being one of my favorite peppers this year. A lot of the peppers on pepper aisle I hadn't planted before. So these 3 peppers I mentioned I hadn't planted in the past. This is a datil pepper. Also one of the peppers I planted for the first time this year. I have not a regular bell pepper, but a chocolate bell pepper. It wasn't very productive, but it's a very delicious pepper. I prefer it to the regular red bell pepper, so it's really a good one. And I believe this was, I don't remember what pepper this is. And of course, all my tags are long gone. I have another thunderstorm pepper here. A perfume pepper, and the Edgevarsky pepper. I love this pepper. It's much sweeter than a red bell pepper, so I think I will be replacing my red bell peppers with this Edgevarsky pepper. I got a lot of these Jamaican mushroom peppers. They did very well. I winter sowed them, so these ones I had a lot of them come up, so I had a lot of them in the garden. Now over here I have the ají amarillo pepper, and this is actually an overwintered pepper. So this pepper I grew in my garden last year. I took this container just as it is, pulled it up from the ground, chopped it down. You can see the old stems. I cut these and I put it in an unheated garage and brought it out in spring, and it grew again. So this year I do believe I will take this pepper back in to see if I could overwinter it for another year. And right by it is another overwintered pepper. This one is the red habanero pepper. Same thing, I took this in the garage and brought it out again, and it did really well. Now running through these peppers really quickly, some of my favorites. The brown jalapeno. I keep saying habanero every single time I come here, but today I got it right. It's the brown jalapeno. She's gorgeous. And then my all-time favorite, the lemon drop. Lemon drop. More brown habaneros. So this one is a habanero. This one ended up being a peppergate. I thought it was the lemon habanero, but it ended up being some random habanero. Still good, but not what I was looking for. A white habanero. See, I was going for color here. White, lemon, not so much, and brown habanero. Flipping over. This is the purple tiger jalapeno. It's a variegated pepper plant. These leaves are gorgeous, and they brought me so much joy in the spring and summertime. Habaneros everywhere. Habanero here, habanero there. This is the peachadoo pepper. It is so pretty. Let me see if I can get one. There you go. Beautiful pepper. It starts off with this pale green color and then it ripens to like a peachy color. And right beside her, my darling. My darling. Look at my little twisty peppers. And if you've been here a minute, you can say it with me. This is the ahi white lightning pepper. So pretty. Definitely planting this again next year. So this aisle here, I tried to put some of the peppers I thought were going to be very pretty here. So the variegated pepper, this ahi white lightning pepper, and then this pepper, which ended up being covered a lot. So I need to move her even further to the front of the garden. This is, see this yellow? It's a yellow jalapeno. The lemon spice jalapeno is what it's called, and it's so pretty. And then here is the puma pepper, which was very late ripening, but when I say it looks like candy, it looks like candy. It's so pretty. Now the star of the show, the Mama Jama. Look at her. Now next year, I think I'm going to move her to a different spot because it's always so hard getting a pretty picture of this pepper. But this here is the, oh, I always stumble when I have to say this name. It's the stripy. Yes. Got it. It's the Sugar Rush Stripy. And if you've ever grown the Sugar Rush pepper, this is just a variant of it that had stripes. And it's beautiful. It doesn't show off well on camera. Let me see. Look at it. It's got stripes. It's so beautiful. And it's very productive too. So if I do indeed overwinter peppers this year, this will be a candidate. I would love to overwinter this pepper. So now back to where we started. I just wanted to make sure you can see the layout of the garden. So there's pepper aisle. Right here I'm growing a muscadine grape. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I haven't trellised her yet. But this is the male, and the female is in that circle there, which grew back from the root because it got cut down a year ago and it grew back from the root, so that's great. Here is where I grew a Kajari melon, so it's just bare for now. And then over here is where I have my beds. Now these beds I call the old beds. There are 4 beds in total here, and then these beds I put in this year, this 1 and 2, and also my green stalk. So this part of the garden is completely new. This was here last year. The soil in this garden bed here, or these garden beds, the soil is atrocious, really bad. It's mostly just clay soil. So this year I really am not growing in any of these beds. So these 4 beds here and these 2 beds here, that's the reason I didn't really grow a proper fall winter garden, because I need to work on these beds. I will be incorporating a lot of organic matter. I'll be chopping, dropping all these greens here. So when I pick all these peppers and all my produce from here, I will be putting the organic matter back in the soil. I have a lot of leaves that I'm going to use to cover it, and I probably will still cover it with cardboard. So if you notice, my garden is mostly covered in cardboard because I have tenacious weeds, which I do not intend to spend the rest of my life weeding. So what I did was cover these beds, the surface, with cardboard, and that way I didn't have to spend my entire days picking weeds from the garden. Now a few grew in the holes where I put the with the plants and maybe in the corners, but I really didn't do much weeding, which was fantastic. So I will do it again. This here in the walkways, I also put some cardboard. I may put some landscape fabric this year, but the cardboard did really well keeping those weeds down. And when I say I have weeds, I don't have pretty weeds. They're like really, really tenacious weeds. Back here I grew some peppers. I grew a shishito pepper there, a couple of shishito peppers. I don't like them. I know everyone raves about shishito peppers, but they just don't do it for me. So I don't think I'll be growing those anymore. I think a rabbit came through and ate some of those and I didn't care. That's the only pepper I don't mind the rabbits eating. But yeah, I don't, we're gonna be growing something else. I have a lot of basil back here, which I let go to seed because these bees loved it. Now the bees are not very active right now, but oh, I just said it and here comes Miss B trying to prove me wrong, trying to make me a liar in my garden. There she is. But usually this place is swarming with bees. Next year I will put a smaller variety of basil here, so maybe the spicy glow basil is what I'll grow here instead, because this took a lot of space. I can plant peppers back here, and that's probably what I'll do, and then put smaller sized basils, or just keep them trimmed like I was supposed to, but didn't. All right, so these containers here, or these trellises here, was where I grew some cucumbers, and I could have put some brassicas in here, but I decided since I was going to work on the beds not to grow anything in there. Now let's get into this pepper here. This here is the purple. Can you see it? Yeah. So it's a purple pepper. It looks almost black, but it's the purple cayenne pepper. Now this was supposed to be a block of cayenne peppers. I had the purple, I had the orange right here. I thought I had a yellow, but apparently I did not have a yellow. Some more purple and some more orange in the back. And then a Thai pepper I grew here, which I just love the way this thing grows. For me, the only way to harvest this is to cut the whole plant down and pick it, because I am not about that life of picking little peppers. This year I almost didn't plant any cayenne peppers because I didn't want to pick them. They're just so tiny. But I gave in because they're pretty, but I don't want to sit there picking all these peppers. So this year what I will do is, to harvest it, I'm just going to cut this plant down and take it inside and sit and be pretty while I do it. So more peppers, more peppers. This one I was hoping for a specific Nigerian habaneros called in suka pepper, and I was given this instead. This looks like a bird's eye chili. I grew so many of these plants because I really wanted to grow that plant. It's a very fragrant habanero. And yeah, I got different types of peppers. I got this bird's eye chili looking pepper. I got this other one that looks almost like a cayenne. Not very pleased. I didn't get one pepper that looked like what it was supposed to be. So Peppergate. Now the rabbits, I believe, and the chipmunks have been in here, so they have been cutting down my peppers. I have a bikini pepper which they've been attacking here. Oop, sorry, smacked you guys in the face. But this here is this bikini pepper. This is the red one, and I have an orange one elsewhere in the garden. Moving on, this is where I had my tomatoes, which came to a sudden end too early in the year for me, but I've learned my lesson, and next year I expect a more prosperous. Did you hear that sound? I expect a more prosperous tomato harvest. So next year will be the year of tomatoes. Okay, this was my attempt at growing moringa, and I think I know what I did wrong. First of all, I should have chopped this down when it was shorter and let it branch out, but I didn't, and it just grew straight up, and this is all I got. So if you know how to grow moringa, if you have tricks, please leave me a comment, let me know. But yeah, next year I will have more plants, that's one, and I will chop them down and see if they branch out better. But teach me, leave me a comment and teach me. Now let me show you this pepper, because this pepper plant I thought was going to do absolutely nothing. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I did not come back here to look at this, but if you ever wonder what's eating your plants, if you see this clean cut here, see this clean cut? Like surgical precision. Like someone came in here with some scissors and went a chopping, like a pruner. That's a rabbit. That's an annoying rabbit. So this rabbit came through and ate down my entire Murasaki purple pepper. This pepper was much larger and had peppers on it, but as you can see, it was properly trimmed. Maybe I'll just take it in. I think it's in a good state to be overwintered. I mean, I gotta look for the good in this. It's been cut down so it can be overwintered. And this pepper by here, look, it's all gone. I'm gonna have to double the peppers I want if I really want to have peppers next year. I think I'm gonna have to plant twice as much as I need, because apparently I'm sharing this garden with the rabbits. Now this pepper is what I wanted to show you. Can you look at this? This is the most beautiful pepper right now in my garden, and it was sitting here all spring and all summer looking sad, not doing much, and then all of a sudden, boom, green peppers, and then boom, look at me, Look. Come on. She's beautiful. It looks like a Christmas tree with, look, come on. It's a whole Christmas tree with lights. Okay. Is it just me? Am I the only one who does this? But yeah, this is a datil pepper and she's beautiful. A Cubanelle pepper. I didn't get much from this plant this year, but look, this is glorious. This is pretty. Here's some chives. I planted these last year and they're perennial, so they'll stay here forever. You can't really get rid of chives if you try. Well, maybe if you try hard enough, but they want to stay. So you can clip them back as much as you want. They'll grow back really quickly. I actually have chives growing in my lawn. You see right here? Chives. Right here? Chives. What's growing here? Chives. How about here? More chives. If you let chives flower in your garden, they will just grow everywhere. So if that's not something you want to cut off the flowers when they start to form, or just as soon as they start to form seeds, you want to save those seeds and take them out from the garden. Otherwise, they will just grow everywhere. Now, this is not the same kind of chive as the other one I showed you. As you can see, the leaves are thicker. This is a lion's mane chive. And right here is the regular chive, so you can see the difference. See, this is the regular chives, lion's mane chives. Oh, it smells so beautiful here. Oh my goodness. Because the rosemary, I just brushed against the rosemary and just, oh my gosh, the smell just filled the air. Smell? There you go. So this here, we just zipped over to the front of the garden, but this is my little kitchen garden. I have lemongrass, which I really need to cut down and take inside because it's not hardy to my zone. But it's done beautiful this year. First time ever growing it. I love it. It's ornamental. It's beautiful. And it's supposed to be delicious. Have I used it? No. But I had basil here, but they don't like the cold. So they're like, goodbye, ma'am. Goodbye. And this rosemary, I actually propagated from this mother plant right here. This plant was already here when we bought the property, but she was old and I had to trim her back early this year, but she bounced right back. But last year I took cuttings from her and planted her over at the kitchen garden. And that's a tip for you. Plant your herbs next to your house, next to the kitchen. That way you'll use it. I never ever came back here to get fresh herbs when this was my source. I wouldn't come back here. I'm like, nah, it's too far. But when it's right outside your door, you're more likely to use it. So kitchen herb garden for the win. Now, let's see. I have some thyme here. This is the mother plant. This is a lemon thyme. And then I got cuttings and grew this here. I think next year I'm going to propagate way more herbs and just spread them all over because I just love them. And I think if I have more, I'll use more. Now let's get a quick update on my citrus. I haven't really shown my citrus in most of my videos, but this is the first time I've ever grown citrus, so you know, a little proud. This here is zone 8A in Georgia, so most citrus are not hardy to this zone. I am going to have to cover these plants, and these are smaller plants. I really should take them inside, but I won't. We're experimenting here. We're trying to see what we can grow here, okay? So I have a Kimberu Satsuma here, and right next to it, this is my oldest citrus. I actually had this citrus last year. It's an Owari Satsuma. I took it into the garden, not the garden, the garage. This is the garden. I took it into the garage over the winter, but I didn't give it enough light. It lost all its leaves, and it did bounce back, which is great. So she's doing good. I'm gonna leave her out this year and cover her and see what she does. And then here, I need to cut this back because this is a kumquat. But if you look here, most of the energy in this plant is actually going to this place here, which is a watershed. It's just growing from the rootstock. I need to cut that back. But I'm thinking I might want to air layer it and grow some roots on it. I want to try my hands at grafting citrus next year. I know I just started planting citrus and now I want to graft it, but that's why it's still on here. But this is a kumquat. The deer have been by. So the deer came through and they chopped down on my kumquat. See that damage there? That's the way deer damage looks. They also got my strawberry plants, believe it or not. Who knew deer like strawberries? And the cosmos. See this? There you go. Focus. Came through and just shredded my cosmos. So this has been cut down. But back to citrus aisle. Here is a Nippon, I believe it's an orange plot, and it has fruit on it, so I really do have to come through and cover it because the fruit is even less cold hardy than the actual plant. This here is, I believe this one here is the Owari. No, this is not the Owari. This is the Brown Select. The Brown Select Satsuma. It has some new growth, so I was hoping it would be going to sleep, but it has some new growth. It's doing very well for a first-year plant. Another kumquat. I think this is the Nagami kumquat. The other one was the Meiwa kumquat, and this one is the Owari Satsuma. Don't ask me why, but I put a random loquat in the middle of my citrus aisle. And this is a grapefruit, the Bloom Sweet grapefruit. Now right in front of it, another thing I'm growing for the first time this year. This year has been a great year for firsts. This is a goji berry. See that right berry there? It's beautiful. It tastes like a vegetable though, so don't expect magic. It's good for you. Just remind yourself it's good for you while you eat it. Definitely tastes like vegetable. Here's another citrus I'm growing from seeds, so this is probably just rootstock, but it was fun growing it last year and watching it survive the winter. Now, here I planted some ginger. I should have put it in a sunnier place. It is a tropical plant. It likes the sun. But I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna harvest. When I do the harvest video, I'm gonna pull this up and see if I got anything out of it. I planted store-bought ginger, so we'll see what we get from it. Nothing lost. And some more lemongrass. I think I'll attempt to overwinter either one or both of these lemongrass plants and see what we get. Here's my first successful citrus plant. This is a Myers lemon, an improved Myers lemon. And I've got 3 fruit on it. 2 are almost ripe. This one is still working on it, but look at these, still green at the bottom. But I'll be taking this indoors because this does not tolerate frost. Now, back to showing you the layout of the garden. So this is from the front, and you can see, like I said, 4 beds over there, 2 beds over here, and over here is citrus aisle and my kitchen garden. So see you now that you're oriented. And I've already started doing some cleanup, so let me show you. Back here, I just pulled out all these zinnia plants. This is like 4 or 5 plants from citrus aisle. And if you look back there in the corner, I've pulled the roselle. Now this roselle took up a lot of space in the garden, so I am reconsidering where to plant it next year. I need to find a spot for it. I do need to protect it from the rabbits, so this year I used chicken wire, which works great. Let me show you. This is where the plants were. They are actually, well, they were actually in containers. This plastic container here and that one over there was what housed my roselle this year. Now I put 2 plants in each container. That one ended up being 2 skinny plants, and this one here had 2 big. Like, look at the circumference of this. This is thick compared to these skinny little ones here. So I'm not quite sure why that was. The soil was pretty much the same, kind of clay soil in the containers. So I'm not sure what happened there, but this was, my goodness, it actually toppled this container to the ground. It fell over. I just pulled it up so I could show you what it looks like, but it was top heavy. Now it took up all the space. So look, see all the space here and here in this bed? All of this was just 4 roselle plants. That's too much. So I'm gonna have to move them out somewhere else in the garden. And when they grew, they fell over, so they actually pushed this enclosure here, which is another chicken wire enclosure, to protect my okra, which is of course dead now. You can see some of it drying up here. Hi, beautiful. But this worked beautifully. Last year I had my okra in that bed over there, and the rabbits enjoyed every single one of them. So this year I built a cage with chicken wire, and I put some onions at the bottom just because I knew I wasn't going to be reaching in there. I put some, not real onions, the spring onions, the green onions in there, and they have grown over the season, and they're actually good and mature, and I can harvest some of these, which is great. I do have some weeds in here, but most of it is the spring onions. And then right here I have some walking onions. I put 1 walking onion here. It has since split. Now it's 3 walking onions here, and one of them had a baby that planted itself over there. I love walking onions. And if you remember from my older videos, this is where my zinnias were. I haven't pulled the zinnias because I think I want to leave it out for the wildlife as long as I can. But it made a beautiful display right here. Now, like I said, I am not planting in any of these big beds because I need to work the soil. So most of my fall plants are in the green stalk and in some containers by the deck. Now, here I still have the peppers. I need to harvest them and pull them out, but I did put some starts in here. They're so tiny. I don't know if they're going to make it, but the chichimasai, which I planted in spring, is coming back up. So there's that. I can get some greens from here. My kale is still here. And I have a load of greens I can use over the fall season. So that shouldn't be a problem. In addition, this is a tree collard, which will be fine through the winter. I can come here and get some greens from here. A bug just flew into my face. But I can get some greens from here. And I have some kale back there. So we're good on greens. Ooh, the bees are out. That's good to see. You see her? Yeah, they're still out and about. This black-eyed Susan vine is one of the few flowers that's still doing something, as well as the sweet alyssum and the black prince snapdragon. I love this flower. Look at her. I have a lot of trees surrounding the property, so of course I have a lot of leaves that have fallen. I've been raking them up, and I plan to put these in a container, probably a large trash can, so I can make some leaf mold, because I can't really do it on the soil here. We have a lot of trees that have roots that just reach into everything you do. I have a pile of leaves, well, not leaves, wood chips in the corner down there. You see it right there? And I just looked in it the other day, and it's full of tree roots, probably from that huge tree over there. Probably went in there and is sucking all my nutrients out, and I don't like that. So I'm going to try doing my leaf mold and my compost in plastic trash bins. Now, let me just show you here. I've been doing some propagation. This plant here is a sedum plant. I've had it for about a year, and I've left it in this container. I haven't done much with it. But what I've done here is just cut some pieces off of it and put it in this container here. I just stuck it in the soil. That's my idea of propagation. Break something off, stick it in the soil. I did that with some thyme. Like I said, I do want to put thyme everywhere in the garden. And this is a tree collard that I also propagated. And this one here is evidence that it works, because I did this months ago and it's definitely grown. And scattered about here on the patio are a few of my fall plantings. I have some peas here, some carrots. This is my first year planting carrots. I'm so impressed that they actually came up. I heard they were really hard to germinate, but hey, seemed to work very well. I've got some lettuce here under wraps because I've got vermin. I have rabbits and chipmunks and things that like to dig in my garden, and deer that like to come through, so I had to keep my lettuce under wraps if I ever want to have a salad. I have some bok choy in here, I believe that's what it is, or pak choy, some kind of choy. Some more carrots in here. This is a red variety, so you can see the leaves look a little purplish. Is it purplish or red? I think it's a purple variety. And I put some here. Not all of them came up, so I succession sowed some more here. We'll see what we get out of there. And some more peas, and this one's actually flowering, so that's exciting. Over here, I have never successfully grown peas, not because they don't come up, but because the vermin. I have rabbits that come through and eat all my peas. The plants, they eat the whole plant down. Let me show you. I've got peas growing here on an old sunflower plant. That's safe because chicken wire. And I've got peas flowering here on some more sunflowers. And that's safe because chicken wire. I think you're getting the gist of it. Safe because chicken wire. But look at this one here. I left her out in the open. No, she's not safe. She's not safe. You know why? No chicken wire. Yes. That's the point. I cannot grow peas without protection. I have, I think this is a mustard green. I'm not sure because my tags all seem to kind of wash away. If you know what this plant is, can you leave me a comment and let me know? I simply cannot remember. But I have some, this is broccoli rabe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's rabe, R-A-B-E. I think that's what this one is, and I'm keeping her under cover just so I keep her alive. And this is arugula. It was completely covered in caterpillars, so you can see how they stripped this leaf. But I think I picked all the caterpillars off. If there are any left, I think they've turned to butterflies and gone away, which I'm fine with. I have some lettuce here under some tulle to see if I can get that growing without something digging in it. I literally brought this container over here and put the soil in it, and went in the kitchen, came out, and something had dug in it. So as soon as I put the seeds in, I had to cover it up. And over there are my Egyptian walking onions. Guys, if you do not have Egyptian walking onions, you're missing out on a good thing. These things are so fun to grow. These I put just some bulblets from the plants I had from last year. Now I bought 4 plants, and since then, I mean, all these came from 4 plants. And I lost some of the bulbules because I wasn't paying attention to them. I could have had over, I don't know, 50 plants if I wanted. But they grow so easily. They move around your garden. They're just like regular spring onions, but they have little bulbules. And when they grow, they don't flower. They actually form bulbules at the tip. And I'll show you this. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed and follow along. I'll show you what this looks like when it grows up. It should start to make bulbules in spring. All right, so I have more carrots. This one I had to fight the vermin for. I planted this and they came up. It was full. And then it was attacked by ants. The entire container was full of ants, and the soil was actually rising up because they were digging in it. And so I got rid of the ants, and then came the little chipmunks to dig in my garden. And they kind of thinned out this for me by digging, so now I don't have to come through and thin it, but I had to cover them with the tool. So since then they haven't been back. But I did succession sow. Why can I not say my words today? I succession sowed some more carrots, and this one, look at the germination rate in this. This is perfect. I will have to thin this one, but not today. Not today, not today. Isn't this pretty? That's a blueberry plant. I love the color of the leaves when it's fall. It's just all red. That's a little lettuce seed that decided to germinate in there. But look at that color. Now walking past the kitchen garden and the citrus, there are some flowers I wanted to show you. This one I intend to get more of and different colors of because I find it to be extremely beautiful. This is a celosia plant. It's the Higyoku red stem celosia, and the camera cannot possibly do it justice. This is gorgeous. It looks like a big red brain, and when you touch it, this feels like velvet. It's so beautiful. It's hard to believe this is from nature. And I've seen the yellow and orange ones, and I think a white one, and I think I'd like to grow that in the garden. Next time I think I will cut it when it's still young so that it spreads out and branches out so that it's not so top heavy, and maybe provide some trellising, because I don't know if you can see in there, but they kind of fell over there. So it should be this tall. Look how tall that is. But it is so very beautiful. So beautiful. Higyoku red stem celosia. And this here is the bitter melon. If you've been following along, you know that this was one of my favorite things to grow this year. It's beautiful. I'm glad that I let it take over this trellis, which I built for the grapevine here, which is in hibernation. Well, going into hibernation, so it won't be doing much. And it's still young. It hadn't started taking over the trellis, so I decided to grow something up the trellis, and the bitter melon was what it was. These are of course dying off, so they're drying up. They don't like to be in the cold, but it was a beautiful display. I love the fruit. It's bitter, so it's not for everyone. But it is very healthy and good for you. You can grow it as an ornamental. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, so definitely a yes for next year. And then here in this garden, I will be growing some tomatoes again. This year they did really abysmal. They were really bad. They didn't do much at all, but that was because this soil here is really bad. So since I'll be working on the soil here, I trust that I will have a much better tomato harvest next year. And I can imagine the tomatoes growing up this way onto the string and then on the trellis. That should be extremely beautiful. It'll be like a wall of tomatoes as I walk by. So that's part of my plan for next year. And if you remember this plant here, this was a volunteer pepper that came up late in the season, and I was hoping to see what it was before the frost hit. I do believe I know what this is. This looks like a ají amarillo. I don't think it's going to ripen, but it was fun watching it grow. So hopefully I gave you a good overview of the garden, and if you have plans for your garden next year, things you're going to be adding or taking away, leave me a comment, let me know about it. And thank you for joining me on this journey. This year has been so fun sharing my garden with you, learning from everyone. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. It has been an absolute joy sharing my journey with you. Until next time, may you always find joy in your garden and your life. Bye, garden friend.